Noon in Redwater never rushed anybody. You know how small towns get in the summer air, like warm syrup flags too tired to wave porch swings, speaking in slow squeaks. I was sitting outside Murphy's Feed and Hardware with a paper cup of sweet tea when a graphite gray SUV rolled down Cedar Street, polished so clean you could have shaved in the paint. It didn't roar past the diner like tourists do. It just floated pilot sure of every bend, every shadow, every set of eyes. The driver was a black man, mid-50s if I had to guess, tall even while seated, shoulders quiet under a plain denim shirt. He had the sort of face that makes weather reconsider its plans. Two patrol cars were already parked catty-corner by the courthouse, their engines idling, sunglasses reflecting back the town like it was a movie they had already seen. You could hear the radio murmurs if you know the sound static, then a phrase that doesn't belong to law, only to habit. Easy pick, somebody said. Someone else chuckled. Let's get it done. The SUV eased to the curb by Lydia's market signal, blinking polite, and the man laid both hands on the wheel like he'd been taught to do 1,000 times and knew some folks still need reminding. He didn't dig for paperwork, didn't fidget, didn't pray. He just sat there, that kind of calm that can be a warning if you know how to read it. Deputy Ray Tiller stepped out first. Young jaw, old swagger, tugging at his vest so the badge would catch the light. His partner Hargrove hung back, one arm draped over the window like a movie extra. Ray walked right up to the door the way men do when they want to let the shadow talk before the mouth does. This ride doesn't fit a man like you, Ray said, voice syrup sweet and mean under it. It didn't land like a question. It landed like a slap. Phones tilted in every direction without anyone admitting it. Some folks pretend they're texting, while the red dot says otherwise. Mrs. Knox, who's 80, if she's a day, has set her glass down on her porch rail, breathing through a worry I've heard my whole life. Please, she whispered, not like last time. The man in the denim shirt, later we'd learn his name was Jordan Hale, opened his door carefully like he didn't want to wake a sleeping kid. He was taller than he looked behind the glass, hair threaded with silver eyes, steady, not challenging. Steady like a river in a drought, year deeper than it looks from shore. Hands where I can see 'em, Ray said. They're here, Jordan answered. Palms open, fingers spread, laid flat on the hot hood like he couldn't feel the heat. What seems to be the problem, officer? Paperwork first, Ray said, but he wasn't asking. He was fishing for a story. What paperwork? Jordan asked, not rude, not scared, only precise. The kind you don't have, Hargrove called, and laughter clipped off the cruiser's hood like bottle caps. Jordan didn't bite. He let silence sit between them like a third man, and I swear that was the first moment the script started to slip. Bullies expect echoes. When they don't get one, they start listening to their own voice, and it sounds smaller. Ray leaned a little shoulder into Jordan, the quick little bump a boy uses to test whether the dog's going to bark. Step back, he said. Jordan rocked because physics said he had to, then came right back to still. Hands, still flat. He kept his eyes on the courthouse steps like he was counting brick seams. I'm not resisting, he said. I'm standing. Resisting, Hargrove repeated, writing the word on nothing like he could file it later. Hear that? A car door slammed somewhere down the block. Ice cracked in a dozen glasses. The world got very, very clear. Ray grabbed a wrist. It was quick and showy, like a magician's reveal, and the sound that followed clicked through town louder than any sermon bell. Metal on bone. A hush fell even on the folks who had started this mess with their smirks. You can laugh at noise. Handcuffs have their own gravity. They walked him past the benches like a prize buck, and folks filmed and looked away and filmed again because shame and curiosity don't cancel each other out. Jordan didn't hunch. He didn't beg. He walked like a man who chooses the ground beneath his feet even when he doesn't get to choose the route. In Padua Station, the air went from hot and honest to cool and stale fluorescent lights buzzing like wasps. Front desk clerk didn't look up when Ray said suspicion of stolen vehicle, as if that were a full meal of facts. Jordan sat where they told him, chain clinking against the metal chair posture, straight enough to make a lie feel smaller, sitting across from him. Then the little things started going wrong for them. The rookie crew's brand new buzz cut, not yet cynical enough to hide his tells, typed Jordan's name and got a red banner across the screen, access restricted. He tried again. System locked. He made a joke to hide how his throat tightened, tried a third time terminal flag contact supervisor, then stopped joking altogether. Glitch Hargrove said too quick. Mark him, John Doe, and move on. Body cams won't load, another deputy muttered, jabbing at buttons. It's blanking out. Batteries die. Ray barked cameras fail. He needed it to be true. He needed the room to nod with him. The nods came slower. Jordan watched quiet, not entertained, not enjoying the trouble. He looked like a man reading a map he'd memorized, patient with the hill. Everyone else was pretending wasn't there. Rookie Cruz shifted in his chair to see the parking lot and froze. In the far corner sat a low black sedan with no plates. Windows dark as old coffee. Engine on. Waiting. He turned back to the terminal, hands hovering above keys like birds over a wire. What's the hold? Sergeant Buckley walked in, heavy chest first, with that practiced gravel voice. We got a schedule. Cruz swallowed. System kicked my query. Upstate. Auto report. Buckley laughed the way men do when they're looking for an exit. Computers burp. It sent my credentials, Cruz said, with a location trace. That got everyone quiet. Ray tried to lean into power. Refusal to identify non-compliance, obstruction, he rattled off like words could build a bridge over a hole he couldn't see the bottom of. Jordan finally lifted his head and looked at him, not unkindly, not soft either. You sure you want that paper trail? Jordan asked, voice steady. No heat in it. You sure you want what follows after what follows? Buckley growled. Is we do our job in this county? Then do it honest, Jordan said. The rookie's fingers hovered, then dropped away from the keys. Sergeant, he said, quiet enough. It almost didn't count as speaking. If I hit enter again, it sends to Washington. Nobody in Washington cares what goes on in Redwater. Buckley said, finding the old line, skinning it for comfort. Right then, the lieutenant from dispatch rushed in, headset, crooked eyes wide. We're trending, she said like she hated the word. Live videos at 50,000, no 60. Questions from stations in Memphis, Dallas, New York. Her voice shrank in the doorway, and a restricted line called twice. Didn't leave a name. Buckley puffed up bigger, as if stature could drag time backward. Blinds he snapped, and the room went darker. It didn't matter. The pressure had already climbed through the vents. There's a sound authority makes when it discovers it was only a costume. It isn't a crash, it's quieter. Chairs creak. A pen drops and nobody bends for it. Somebody laughs at the wrong time and then pretends they coughed. That's what the room sounded like while Jordan sat straight and still and let their noise run out of gas. A knock hit the door, flat, firm, a rhythm that didn't ask to be liked. It opened before Buckley finished saying, Come. Men and women in dark suits stepped in like they'd measured the hallway yesterday. No swagger, no raised voices. Badges flashed just once, the way you show a passport to a guard who already knows your name. The first one nodded to Jordan like you nod to a colleague across a conference table. Another unclicked the cuffs, fast metal falling to the desk with a clatter that sounded like a gavel, like a sentence turned around. Jordan stood, rolled his cuffs lightly over his wrists, and pulled a leather case from his inner pocket. He didn't present it like a weapon, he presented it like a fact. Jordan Hale, he said, calm as a kitchen clock. Director, Federal Integrity Task Force. Ray's mouth opened and forgot to be a mouth. Buckley stared like the floor had moved. Rookie Cruz went pale and then weirdly relieved, like a person discovering the monster under the bed has a name and rules. The suits brought in a cart screen, cables, a hard case, and somebody killed the buzzing overhead light. Drone footage filled the wall like the town had its own conscience, mounted above the bulletin board. Cedar Street from 70 feet up, heat shimmering, the SUV easing in. Audio threaded in from somewhere else, cleaner than our own ears. Ray's line, clear as law. This ride doesn't fit a man like you. Split-screen body cam, indexes blinking corrupt on the left drone, and dash angles on the right, timestamps locking together like teeth. Nobody lectured. The video did the lecturing. A second team slid open ancient metal file drawers in records, pulling decades of complaints and traffic stops, and fit the description lines from boxes that smelled like dust and hobby glue. Words repeated across years like songs you can't shake, failed to comply, resisted, obstructed. Agents scanned, bagged, logged. The shape of a pattern stood up from the floor and would not sit down. Buckley tried to rebuild the old world one more time. "This is a misunderstanding," he said, reaching for indignation and grabbing air. "We keep order here. You keep records too," one of the agents said, not unkindly. "We're going to read them." They did not